The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Rob Deininger, and I'm here with Jack Degraw, and as always, we're talking Yankees baseball. How you doing, Jack?
Good. How are you tonight, Robert?
I'm doing good. The Yankees had a big win today. They split the first two games with the Tampa Rays and increased their lead to 4.5. They're three Rays are three back in the loss column, but at least the Yankees put another game between them.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees been struggling a lot lately, but today they just jumped on the Rays. They got 6 runs in the first, and they got a run in the second. Donaldson come up with a big hit. They got Stanton back, and today's win, to say the least, was a big one.
Yeah, Donaldson, he just missed a home run in his first at bat. It turned into a long single because everyone had to hold up to see if it'd be caught, but he had a long single, and then he had a home run later in the game. So it's nice to see him swinging a bat, but he seems to hit Tampa pretty well. But, yeah, it was a good win, and Aaron Judge had another 3 hits, and I saw a stat where he's the first Yankee since Mickey Mantle to have 3 or more hits in 7 straight games. And like I said, Mantle, they said, was the last Yankee player to do that, and I think it was in 1956.
Yeah, that was Mickey's Triple Crown year.
Oh, that's right, yeah. And that's ironic, yeah, because Judge right now is batting, I think, 307, and I think the leader's 315, so not only is he going for Maris's record, but he could be going for a Triple Crown this year, too.
Yeah, you don't see that happen too often. I mean, we talked off air. I mean, he's just been incredible this year. I mean, he's almost responsible. I think he's responsible for like 8 or 10 wins just with, big hits in the late innings. He's just been, phenomenal this year.
I know, and it's like I was shocked when I saw him leading off the game today. But, I mean, he's been your best hitter, and he's guaranteed to get on base if they're going to walk him. So it made sense to put him at leadoff today and pay dividends right off the bat.
Well, they had Judge first and they had Stanton second. And the reason, the reason is they can't pitch around Judge. If Judge is leading off, they can pitch around him. But then you get Judge on first and you have Stanton coming up. I mean, Stanton's an RBI machine. When he's healthy, he's a great player. And, he hit a homer today, but, that's why they were first and second. The Yankees are just, changing the lineup all the time, which you usually don't like to see, but, you got to do something to generate some runs because they have been scoring for like 50 games too much.
Yeah, and you're right. When Stanton's healthy, I mean, he's not, his average isn't that great this year, but he's got 24 homers and 64 RBIs coming into the day. He added to those totals, but he comes up with big home runs and he drives in runs when he's hitting well. And he's been a little bit banged up this year, but when he's healthy, like Aaron Judge, he could carry a team for a week. Whereas Judge this year has been carrying the Yankees, I think, all year.
Yeah, I mean, they just had a lot of injuries. It's really, killed them all at once. They lose Rizzo, they lose Stanton, they lose Carpenter, and they've really been struggling.
Yeah, and LeMahieu is out right now. He's on the IL, so that hurts.
Well, what happened to LeMahieu, he didn't have an extra base hit in something like 20 games.
Yeah.
And, he was up over 290. And then, I think now he's 270. But he just, he just was having trouble pushing off. And he wasn't generating any power. He wasn't hitting well. And so he went on the DL too. So, they're losing a lot of guys. Hopefully they're getting some back.
Yeah, today before the game, Aaron Boone said Rizzo should be back. I think he said when they take on Boston or Milwaukee, but I guess he's been suffering from migraines, and they gave him a blood patch, whatever a blood patch is, but apparently it helps with migraines, and it's had a positive effect on him, and he'll be returning to baseball activities. And then Boone said he estimates that he could return at the back end of the team's upcoming road trip. So that could be either against Boston or Milwaukee.
Yeah, when he's not in the lineup, even though the average isn't the best, but he knocks in a lot of big runs, and his defense is just outstanding. And when they have other guys over there like Gonzalez and LeMahieu, I mean, LeMahieu can play all over, but you really see there's certain plays that he would make that the other guys don't make. I mean, it just changes everything.
Yeah, you're right. Because like Kiner Falefa, like you said, you just got to throw the ball in his direction. If it's a one hop, he's going to get it. If it's close to him, he'll scoop it up out of the dirt for you.
Yeah, so you miss these guys when they're not there, because then you see the difference.
Yeah. And going back to Aaron Judge, I mean, the season he's having is been ridiculous. I know a lot of people are talking about the MVP and debating him or Ohtani, but being on a team that's in first place and fighting for the World Series this year. I mean, what Judge is doing is just remarkable, because you're right. He's responsible for at least 8 to 10 wins. I mean, you take that away, and the Yankees for sure are not in first place in their division.
No, it's just, it's really like a remarkable season. It's actually one of the best ones, in the whole history of the Yankees, if you look at it. After the season, when you look back and compare it to other years, the great Yankees have had, he's right up there with them. Yeah,
I think he leads like in 5 or 6 major categories this year, from home runs, RBIs to total bases, on base plus slugging. I mean, there's a list of categories where he's just first in, and it's just really remarkable. I mean, he really has been the one guy you can count on it day in, day out for the Yankees this year. Which I mean, at the end of the year, I don't know what's going to happen, but I really hope this guy stays in pinstripes.
Yeah, I think the Yankees should do everything they can to keep him, with the team, because if he leaves, the backlash just from the fans.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Judges won't be a good thing. Yeah.
No, the Judge's chamber will be in another stadium. I mean, he's to me the face of the Yankees and the face of baseball. And to see him wearing another uniform would be, oh God, it'd be heartbreaking. But I know Hal Steinbrenner put out a statement, and they said they'll be competitive. But he also says he said something like one party needs to be in reality, and I think he was referring to Aaron Judge. The way Steinbrenner was talking, it just doesn't sound good. I mean, I think the Yankees will give them a competitive offer, but I don't think they're going to, throw a ton of money at him. So I'm worried another team might be able to persuade him to leave with a lot of money.
Well, I know, like Randy Levine did a interview, and it says, it's up to Judge. And what these owners try to do is they try to make out that it's the players, who are driving up all the prices, and they're making it tough for the fans, where the owners are making a boatload of money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're making billions.
Yeah, and like a lot of the fans will side over with the owners, and actually the play, and say, oh, it's the players' fault. It's not the players, it's the owners. And I mean, if they paid these guys a competitive salary earlier in their career, then when they get to be 29 or 30, 31, they go to free agency. Well, at the end of the 8 years, it'll be on the downside of their career. Well, if they paid them better earlier in their career, that won't be the case.
And that's like Aaron Judge. He's 30 years old. This is going to be his one and only opportunity to cash in on himself. And as a fan, I couldn't be mad at him for leaving for more money, because this will be his only opportunity to really cash in.
Well, to give you an idea, in 2017, when the Yankees got to the 7th game of they just missed the World Series by 1 game, Judge, Torres, Sanchez, and Andujar combined we're making less than $3 million.
I know, that's insane. I mean, that is crazy. I mean, you figure how good that team was, and yeah, they were able to do that because they weren't making. They didn't have to pay these guys a lot of money, and Aaron Judge though has proved he's worth every penny you could pay him.
Yeah, well, he gambled on himself. He said, I didn't want it at the beginning of the year, and he's come out, big time. I mean, I hate to see the Yankees losing.
And I think Hausheimer said something about how they offered him more money than any other position player they ever paid a Yankee player before, and which is, I think it averages out to like $30 million a year. But I mean, they're paying right now Cole more money than that. I mean, if anyone's worth a little more than $30 million a year, it is Aaron Judge. I mean, it's not like the Yankees can't afford it.
Well, I mean, you look at all the revenue they bring in. And, the cost of tickets nowadays, the cost of, I don't know if they get parking. I assume they get the cost of parking, the cost of the hot dogs, the cost of beer. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it costs so much to go to a game now.
Yeah.
And then they get these packages. Yeah, the Yes and the Peacock and all this other nonsense they have. But, they're making money, left and right. So,
the TV deals alone bring them in billions of dollars. And then, like you said, this year they got deals with like Peacock and Amazon who are paying them to broadcast their games. So, they're getting even more money from streaming services, and they make billions off of that. And so, they're not hurting for cash whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, even down here when they have spring training, that's another big revenue thing. I mean, the days of going to a game for $8, $10, $12 are done. I mean, even spring training tickets can run you anywhere from $30 to $50.
Yeah,
and it's just it's mind-boggling how much money they make. It's off the charts.
Yeah, and I was listening to Sports Radio this week. One caller made a good point. He says it seems like Cashman is running the Yankees like a small market team that has money to spend, with the way analytics are played into, building a roster. It kind of made sense. It's almost like he's trying to find diamonds in the rough where he doesn't have to pay a lot of money, but he'll spend money on certain stars for certain positions that he feels he needs to get.
Yeah, I mean, they'll go after some big name players, but just like you were saying, they'll sign retreads from other teams, and that has panned out for the Yankees. And I mean, one of the things is the blueprint the Yankees have had for 20 years, 10 years, it's worked. Yeah. So they make the argument, and it's a good argument that the formula we have has been successful.
Yeah.
But in the way, like they say, well, we want to win championships. Well, they don't win championships anymore.
Yeah, it's true. The last one was what, 2009?
Yeah, and I mean, like, there's a generation of fans growing up now. Like we're at the age we remember the great teams, and even though I didn't see the teams in the 50s, I was born in the 50s, so I remember reading about them and, reading about the old players, meeting some of the old players. But now when these kids are, 15, 20 years old, the Yankees are just an outstanding team, but they're not what they used to be.
Yeah. And talking about, how many wins he's responsible, I think Aaron Judge's WAR, which is a wins above replacement, is 8.3. And to find a player to take over, fill his position, who's worth over 8 wins, you're not going to find a player like that. I mean, so if this is about an extra $5 million a year, I think he just give him the extra $5 million a year, and it's not going to break you.
Well, usually, when you sign a big name, you're hoping to get, anywhere from at least 3 to 5 wins.
Yeah.
And anything over 5, 6 wins is just, phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, look, they took on Josh Donaldson's contract, 2 years, $50 million. It's $25 a year. And he's not having anywhere near the kind of season Judge is. Not even close.
No, I mean, I thought Donaldson the first half, he held his own.
Yeah.
He didn't hit great, but everybody else was getting clutch hits and play, so it didn't stand out as much. But in the second half, Donaldson still can field, and he's come up with some clutch hits, but you can see that he's starting to decline.
Yeah. I will say he is an excellent third baseman with the glove. He's been great at third base.
Yeah, the Yankees have really improved their defense. They've done a great job with that.
Yeah, and getting back to the other guys on the team, Aaron Hicks had an awful night in the outfield. I guess, what was it, Friday night? I missed the game, but I guess he misplayed a couple balls in the outfield and was basically benched during the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's really getting to a point where, can you play him? Can you play him at home because the fans are down on him, and I think he's down on himself, and it's getting to be a situation where you just in the offseason you just might have to eat the contract.
Yeah, and after the game today in the postgame, Jack Curry, I think it was Jack Curry, it might have been Flattery, who said you might have to go with Andujar the rest of the way in the outfield because, right now Andujar's swinging a good bat, and he's improved his defense out in left field greatly. So you got to wonder if you're going to see more of Andujar playing left field instead of Aaron Hicks.
Yeah, I remember, the last time we talked, maybe 10, 12 days ago, we we're talking about, the guys they should bring up from the minor leagues and give them a shot. Well, now those guys are up there because they need them. Yeah. And they've performed well. For the most part, they've really done a good job.
Yeah, and a couple games ago, Andujar had a 2-run homer, and then he drew a great walk. He had a great at-bat where he drew a walk in the bottom of the 8th to keep the inning alive. And today he had another 2 hits, including an RBI. I've always been high on Andujar, and I've always said if you just give him consistent at-bats, he'll start to hit. And I think you're seeing he's been playing more, and he's starting to get some hits. And I'd like to see the Yankees at least continue to try to give him consistent at-bats because I think he could help produce going down the stretch for them.
Yeah, well, I think for at least the next week or 10 days, you'll see him out there almost every game because, they don't have the options, and he's been very productive.
Yeah, and going with some of the injuries, Severino should be back by the 20th, which means he'll be able to start the 21st against Pittsburgh. I think he's going to pitch one more rehab game. But the Yankees also have Miguel Castro, Aroldis Chapman, Britton, and Harrison Bader, that center fielder, will all be playing in a rehab game tomorrow.
Yeah, well, that's some good news. I'm anxious to see Bader, and it'll be great to get Sevy back. And Chapman, I don't really know what you can expect at him at this point. Britton, coming off the surgery, I don't know how effective he'll be, but it'll be nice, at least maybe for the last 2 weeks of the season, to get him in the bullpen to see what he can do.
Yeah, they say Bader here, it says he could be ready to return when the Yanks return from their road trip on September 20th to face the Pirates. So he could be back as early as September 20th. So, it'd be nice to see him in the lineup and see what he can add to it. Yeah,
and we were talking off air about Matt Carpenter, and the last thing I heard on him, he's still in a walking boot, and they checked the foot like 3 or 4 days ago, and they said it's healing nicely, but it'll be another at least 2 weeks. So that sometime around the 22nd, 24th of September, they'll make another evaluation.
Yeah, that'd be nice if we could have him available for the postseason if his foot's healthy enough, because he was a nice pickup by Cashman. I have to say that. He really helped us out during the season. It'd be nice to have him available, at least coming off the bench if possible.
Yeah, that's like Voit was a big pickup, and there's been others in like Carpenter. So I give Cashman credit there. I think he's a good GM, But, the Yankees every year, we're not going to win the World Series. We're going to win multiple World Series.
Yeah.
And, we go into a season. I mean, Yankees fans have been spoiled. We go in the season. If we don't win the World Series, it's been an awful year.
Yeah, and it always seems, at least in recent years, that the second half of the season, they just, I don't know, it seems like their offense just seems to go a little bit dead, and they end the year on a bad note, and I'm just hoping that's not the case again this year. I mean, like you said, even though we've been hit with the injury bug, even when we were healthy, we were struggling in the second half to put up runs.
Well, if you look back, I mean, we're going back. I'm going back to 2020. I mean, granted, they only played 60 games, and last year and this year, they've been a very streaky team.
Yeah.
When they've been great, and when they've been lousy, they've been lousy.
Yeah.
There's not really much middle ground, and I think where the Yankees are at the beginning, at the start of the season, we'd be happy with where they are now.
Yeah.
But they were so phenomenal in the first half of the season. Oh, they're going to win 120 games, and then it's like, starting August 1st, it's just been a free fall.
Yeah, because I remember some of the shows we were doing in the first half of the year. I mean, they were steamrolling teams, so easily that we really didn't have much to talk about because they were so far ahead of everyone and everything was going great. There was nothing really to talk about. And then all of a sudden it was like, boom, that 16.5 game leader there started to shrink,
Well, everything went right. I mean, they had a man on, they got a runner on second. They get a big clutch hit. They hit a clutch home run. And, Clay Holmes come out of the bullpen. I don't think he gave up a run in 29 starts. I mean, everything that couldn't go right went right. And then it started to go south a little. They had some injuries. The bullpen fell apart for like a month, and they stopped hitting. And, that's why they're in the position they are now.
Yeah, it's like today it was nice to see them, driving a lot of runs with singles. I think they were 7 for 11 with runners in scoring position today, and I think almost all of them were scored by singles, not driven in by singles, except for the couple of home runs that were hit.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's been going on for years. In situations, they really don't hit well, and when they get in extra innings, you can see that. I mean, other teams too. They get a guy on second with no outs, and they have an awful time scoring.
Yeah, that's like how many times this year have the Yankees been in extra innings where they played, the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th and can't get a run in from second base. I mean, I think they're 0-5 on the road this year, and the games have gone. There were a few games I remember that went into the 12th and even 13th, and they couldn't score a run from second base.
Yeah, the other day, I mean, they had the bases loaded, no outs, and extra innings, and they didn't score.
Wow.
So.
Yeah. Wow. But, the Yankees, if they could they got Domingo Germán going tomorrow, and Germán's been pitching really well lately. He even had a no-hitter going into the sixth inning start or two ago, and he's pitching tomorrow. If they can beat Tampa and improve to 5.5 over them, their schedule's not brutal like Tampa's. I mean, we got 2 at Boston, 3 with Milwaukee, 2 with Pittsburgh, 4 more at Boston, 3 with Toronto, 3 with Baltimore, and we finish up 4 with Texas. So we have it's in a middle of the road schedule, but it's nothing near what Tampa has to do. So if we can take the game tomorrow and put 5.5 games between us, we should have no problem winning the division.
Well, the Rays and the Blue Jays play 8 more times.
That's huge. They can beat up on each other.
Yeah, and the Rays play the Astros 6 more times, and I know the Rays play the Red Sox, I believe, and they play I'm going to call them the Indians. And so, if the Yankees can come out with a win tomorrow, they'll be up 5.5, and even if they lose, it'll be 3.5. But they're still in pretty good position because the other teams have, they're just going to have to fight to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, And the one thing I will say is our starting pitching all year has been pretty solid. And I saw a stat today where Jameson Taillon, when he starts, the Yankees are 21-7 in his starts. And off air we were talking about him, he's 13-4 in the year. And the Yankees are 21-7 in his starts. It's the best winning percentage along with Justin Verlander in Houston. I think the Astros are 18-6 when he starts. So I mean that's pretty good for Jameson Taillon.
Yeah, I mean, who would expect him to be 13-4? I think they would have been happy. He wins 10, 12 games, and he's really been consistent all year. He's had very few bad starts, and he's really held the staff together.
Yeah, and when Severino went down, we were lucky. We had Herman come back in the second half, and like I said, other than that first start of his, he's been solid, and we'll have Severino back soon. So, and Cortez has had a great year. I mean, our starting pitching is pretty. We really, you don't have to worry too much about it. It's more our bullpen that would worry me. But if we get guys back healthy on the offense, we should be all right heading into the postseason, hopefully.
Well, if the Yankees get the second seed, I think they're 5 games behind the Astros now. But if they get the second seed, they could meet it'll be either the Indians or the Twins in the second round.
Yeah.
And they have a great success against them.
Yeah, the Central Division's interesting because, like you said, the Indians right now are in first place by a game and a half over the White Sox, and the Twins are only 2.5 back. Both of them are only 2 back in the loss column. So it'll be interesting to see which team, wins that division. I'd love to see the Twins win it because the Yankees just love to beat up on Minnesota.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like over the last 160 games, the Yankees have won like 75% of the games. And in the playoffs, I think they've beaten them 11 times in a row. It's something ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Minnesota would be the dream team. The team I would hate to see would be the White Sox, just because they're so young and aggressive. I prefer a team like Minnesota or Cleveland over the White Sox.
Yeah. Oh, Robert, they've made some rule changes.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you heard about that. I just remembered it. I think it will start next year. The shift is gone.
Oh, thank God. I think that will open things up.
Yeah. You have to have, when the ball thrown, you have to have 2 guys on each side of the infield, and their cleats got to be on the infield. And there's a 15-second clock for pitchers to deliver the ball, and then there's like an 8-second clock. The batters, have to stay in the batter's box. And I think a pitcher can only step off the mound a couple times, with a man on first. I'm not sure about that rule, but they have changed some things to sort of speed up the game. I think one of the things, you got so many commercials, and they don't have to talk to good managers between innings because that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And, I hate when they talk about a player's fielding percentage, especially an infielder today, because it's like, when you got 3 guys on the side of the infield, sometimes maybe even 4, it's not like they got to move or run to catch the ball or field the ball. It's basically hit right at them. So it'd be nice to see, a defender actually have to defend his position. And, you'll start to see which guys have range and, which guys don't, and it will help the guys, batting average too, because I'm sick of seeing guys batting 220 who should be batting, much higher than that. Yeah,
I mean, the averages are so low, for the most part, and it's just, look at the Yankees average. It's, Stanton's batting 217.
Yeah,
Rizzo 220. I mean, and there's other guys. I mean, now if you can hit 270, that's really a good solid average.
Yeah, I know. I think it was a week or two ago. As a team, the Yankees were batting 243 as a team, and I remember when there was talk, comparing this year's team to the '98 team. The '98 team batted 288 as a team. It just shows you the difference of what happens when players have to face an extreme shift compared when you didn't. I mean, it's hard to. That's why players try to swing for the fences, because there's no point in trying to put a ball on the ground. It just gets eaten up.
Yeah. So that's one of the good things, and I hope, and I believe next year they're going to do something. They're going to have extra innings, the way it's always been. Yeah,
they should. I mean, that starting to run off, it just makes. I just don't like it whatsoever. I mean, the guy who makes the out the previous inning starts the extra innings off. It just. I hate it. I don't like it. I just don't like it.
And plus, a lot of the teams can't score anyway, so it's.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just more frustrating, is what it is.
Yeah. I heard they weren't Pacific today, but I heard the Yankees minor league team stole 190 bases this year so far. I don't know if that's their entire minor league organization or if it was, one. I think it was their entire minor league organization. But Anthony Volpe, he's got 45 stolen bases on the year, and he's only been thrown out 6 times. I would love to see this kid play. I haven't seen him, play a game. I've seen highlights, but I haven't actually watched a game of his.
He got into a couple spring training games this year. He got promoted to he's in AAA now.
Yeah.
And he hit 2 home runs, I think, last night or 2 nights ago. So, I mean, we'll be seeing him a lot in spring training, and who knows, maybe he'll come he'll come up north with the Yankees next year. So,
yeah,
he's a local guy from Morristown.
Yeah, I mean, I know when he got promoted to AAA, I know he went 3 for 9 in his first 9 at bats, but I hadn't seen what he's done since. But he started off well, and I know he was a guy the Yankees don't. He was one of the guys they refused to move. So it'd be nice to see him next year, see what how much he's improved. Because apparently he is the shortstop of the future. Yeah,
and I mean, it was nice to see, Oswald Peraza come up. He had a 3-hit game the other night.
Yeah.
And this other guy, Oswaldo Cabrera, he makes a great play wherever you put him.
Yeah, I mean, that guy can play everything. I think I remember Tyler Wade, they were hoping it would be like a super utility player and pan out that way. But this guy, he seems like he might be more in line for something like that.
Yeah, Wade's still with the team. He's in AAA, but this Cabrera, wherever you put him, shortstop, at the outfield, any place in the infield, he just makes one great play after another. And he was even working out at first base the other day. So.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Man, and going back to this year's team, Stanton, he, like you say, did hit a home run today, but I think it was off the catcher who started to pitch. But if he can get healthy, I mean, that will be huge, because having Judge at the top of the lineup, we're going to have to force teams not to pitch around Aaron Judge.
Yeah, maybe when they get some of the guys off the injured list, you're going to have to move Judge down. But when you're having trouble scoring runs, you want Judge to get up 5 times a game. Yeah. I mean, just looking at it, he's batting .307 with 55 homers and 120 RBIs. It's just unbelievable the season he's having. And then, you got Benintendi. I think he's out for the year. Yeah. He had surgery. I think, like, the bone you have, your finger on the knob of the bat. Yeah. He had that bone removed. I never even heard of it. I don't know what it is, but and there's a big loss too. Yeah, I mean, he was starting to come on too. That really hurts, having him at the top of the lineup, especially being a left-handed bat as well.
and he could hit the ball all over the place. I mean, having LeMahieu, him, and then Judge, I mean, that hurts. That does.
And then, they lost Donaldson and, Trevino because they were on, like, paternity, personal reasons like paternity leave or, their wife's having a baby. I remember years ago, I heard a story. I don't know if Mickey actually said it, but, why should I be home? She's having the baby.
Yeah.
But the owners, I mean, that's something years ago. I mean, if your wife was having a baby and it was mid-season, tough luck.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. It wasn't until it was a recent, move by baseball, right? Where I think it's gone back maybe 10 years, paternity leave for the guys. I mean, it's not like, it was something that, wasn't allowed. And then recently, I think they changed it. Yeah,
I mean, so I think in a way that's a good thing.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I think we can coast. I think we can coast to the division title. I hope. And the only team that really scares me is Houston. I mean, especially if we face a team like the Twins in the first round, that'd be fantastic. It's just facing Houston and our ability or inability to score scares me going up against a team like Houston. So it'd be nice if the Yankees could start getting healthy and at least offensively.
Yeah, well, if they can get these guys back and, it's been a crazy year. I've never seen a Yankee team like this, so, up and down. But, they got the players that could, win the whole thing. And, and possibly they could blow the division and wind up playing in the first round. But, it's just going to be interesting to see what happens the last, 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah. I'm looking at the team totals. Their Yankees are actually batting .238 as a team this year, which just blows my mind. It's incredibly low. But they have, like, the first half they were getting the big hits, hitting with runners in scoring position, getting that big 3-run homer when they needed it.
Yeah. So, hopefully things will start turning around. You told a good story off air, Robert. You want to tell the story about, Mark Leiter?
Oh, yeah. I saw my brother recently, and he's got an 11-year-old son. His name's Logan, and he's been taking pitching lessons from Mark Leiter. And Mark Leiter also is a coach of a traveling boys team, one of those, little league teams for kids. And he's been teaching my nephew, and he's been teaching him how to throw a 2-seam fastball, 4-seam fastball, and a changeup. But he's been teaching him, the proper technique and the proper mechanics. And my brother told me that the increase in velocity on my nephew's, throws has gotten a lot harder. My brother says when playing catch with the son, he has to stop after a while because his hand hurts. And it's Mark Leiter teaches the proper mechanics is very important. And Mark Leiter had told my brother and nephew that a lot of people said his son wouldn't get drafted because he wasn't a flamethrower, but he said his son did get drafted because he had the proper mechanics, proper technique. And it shows you, scouts can see things like that. And it does help you, throwing the proper mechanics will help you increase your speed and arm strength. And it's just really cool. I didn't know it, but Mark Leiter, he charges only, I think, like $65 per session. And he has a place set up on his property where, a little pitching instruction area where he helps young kids, young boys, learn how to throw with the proper mechanics. It's pretty cool.
Is this in New Jersey, Robert? Or?
Yeah. It's in New Jersey. I forget what town, but they had the team my nephew plays for, which is coached by Mark Leiter, had a game today in Forkett River, and I think they have a game next Saturday in Leonardo, which I'm hoping to go to, so I can get a chance to see my nephew play, and hopefully, my brother will introduce me to their coach, who's Mark Leiter too.
Yeah, I remember, Mark, when he pitched for the Yankees in 1990, and then in 2002, I seen Mark pitch for the Newark Bears, the independent team. So, it's important, not only kids take instructions, but more important is who they take instructions from.
Yeah,
you get people who really know what they're talking about, who opposed to coaches who are ass smart, who think they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, because it's everything from your feet, your legs, even to your ass. It's your whole body. It's the throw with the proper technique and the proper mechanics. And it's my brother's told me his son has gotten so much better. And it was cool to hear, and my brother loves him because he says Mark Leiter is so down to earth. He's very blunt. He tells you the truth. If you're not having a good day, if you suck, he tells you suck today, but he's been really good. He's really helped my nephew along, and my nephew loves him, absolutely adores him.
Yeah, well, once you learn the proper mechanics, you'll just grow into your body.
Yeah.
And, the thing now, you want your kids to, at least you want them to go to college, get a college scholarship. That's the big thing. Get into college, get a scholarship.
Yeah, that's what my brother. I was saying to my brother, like, if your son loves it, keep encourage him, keep encouraging him, because who knows, you get a scholarship and you won't have to pay that college bill. And he's like, tell me about it. But Mark Leiter told him he had a lot of people saying his son wouldn't get into the majors or wouldn't be drafted. And he's in the Phillies organization. And, scouts pick up on things like pitchers with proper mechanics because it is a big deal. It is important.
Yeah. Yeah. As you get bigger and stronger, you'll grow in your body and your velocity. And if you got the right technique, and you'll just, you'll get better. That's something you don't have to worry about. Nobody has to teach you that because you can already do that. And you want to get a college scholarship.
Yeah. And he also, they play catch and long toss, but when they're practicing the fastballs and the changeup, it's 60 pitches. That's it. That's all he allows them to throw. He works, throws 60 pitches and that's it, because you're building up a kid's arm. You don't want to overdo it or anything. And but my brother says it's paid huge dividends already. My nephew's 11 years old and he's throwing in the 60s, in the 60 miles an hour range. And like my brother said, he after a while he can't play catch anymore. To me, his hand starts to hurt after a while. Just learning the proper mechanics. His son has gotten better at throwing the baseball.
Well, that's the right way to learn it. So, hopefully in 6-7 years we'll hear, he's going to college somewhere.
And I want to go to the game because I would really like to meet Mark Leiter. My brother said I'll introduce you to him, and I was like, great. And I would love to get an opportunity to meet him, shake his hand, maybe get a picture taken with him, because that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's always a lot of fun to meet a next major leaguer, and because most of those guys are so down to earth, it's just a pleasure to be around them.
Yeah, and I think Mark Leiter, was it 11 years or was it 16 years that he was in professional ball?
He was in professional ball 16 years. He was 11 years in the major leagues. He had 65 wins, and like I say, I seen him his last year, 2002, with the Newark Bears, and so those guys know their craft. That's their life. That's what they know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's not easy making any professional level at any sport, and then let alone to have a career at it. It means you have to be good and know what you're doing. And so I think that's pretty cool. And he's really big on helping young kids, learn the proper technique and the proper mechanics. And he loves coaching young kids and being the manager of the little league team he's got. So I'm interested. I'm really looking forward to meeting him. And hopefully I'll have a story to tell you guys, in a few weeks after I catch a game.
Yeah, very cool, Robert. That's good.
And we were talking off air. Mark Littell was his name, the pitcher who passed away. And
Mark Littell. Mark Littell. Mark Littell.
He was he was a frequent guest of Comfortably Zone Radio Network too, right? I mean, he was someone who spoke on the podcast quite a bit, right?
Yeah, Ralph and Wayne, did a tribute to Mark this week, so it was very good. You should give it a listen. I did a podcast with Mark like maybe 3 years ago, and he was such a nice, down-to-earth guy, and I was a Facebook friend with him. He was the kind of guy you like. If you just talked to him for a few minutes, you felt like you knew him forever. And I mean, it was just, it was just a terrible loss. I mean, anybody who had any, dealings with him, or if you're lucky enough to be a friend with him, it's you're very lucky. It's just a very tragic loss.
Yeah, it is, and for people that know him, Yankee fans would know him. He was the pitcher who gave up the home run to Chris Chambliss, right? That won the pennant for the Yankees. Yeah. Yeah,
they had a big delay on the field.
Yeah,
and he didn't take any warm-up pitches, and Chambliss hit a pitch maybe a little out of the strike zone, and the Yankees won the fifth game. But I also, when I spoke to Mark, I mentioned the next year, the first time he pitched against the Yankees, he threw like 4 or 5 shutout innings, and he only gave up 1 run. And the good thing is, Mark, too, a couple weeks ago, the Cardinals had an 82 World Series reunion, and he was able to attend that in St. Louis. And I mean, if you looked at the guy, you would never think he had a bad ticker, because he looked in really good shape. But you just never know.
It's like I never had an opportunity to speak to him, but I mean, just when I heard him, I knew who he was because he was the guy that gave up the home run to Chambliss. It's sad. He was only 69 years old, and it's sad when you hear someone pass away and 69 years old. That's not old today.
Well, I just remember the one time I talked to him. He said, if you look at me, I look well, but if you listen to some of the later podcasts, like sometimes he had. It's like he had maybe trouble breathing. I mean, he had a 10-hour surgery, with his heart, and they put him in what they call it,
medically induced coma.
Yeah, medically induced coma, and he just, he just never came out of it.
Well, that's a shame. Yeah, it's like for all listeners, if you go to the Comfortably Zone Network archives, you can find all the podcasts where Mark Littell was a part of. So I would check that out. I would definitely check that out.
Yeah, Ralph and Wayne just did the podcast maybe 3 or 4 days ago, so it's still fairly new. It's probably about a 35 minute listen, and it's well worth the listen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame.
Yeah.
And getting on back onto another note, hopefully when we talk next week, Yankees have put some more distance between the Rays. I'll feel more comfortable, if we can increase our lead a little bit, because I just want to make sure we win our division, and I'll worry about the playoffs when the playoffs start.
Yeah, well, I mean, today's win was huge, and the win last week in Sunday when Judge, hit a home run with. The 2-1 win last Sunday was huge also. I mean, last weekend, the Yankees only scored 3 runs against the Rays in 3 games.
Yeah.
And today's win was huge. So it does, if you have a few more screw-ups, at least, the Yankees are still in first place.
Yeah, and it was against Corey Kluber, who's pitched well again. Well, he's pitched great against us this year with Tampa. I mean, he was with us last year, and the injury bug got him. But, I mean, when he's healthy, he's a good pitcher, and he had given us problems this year, but we jumped on him early in the first inning, and that was enough. Well,
hopefully, they can keep it up, and next time we talk, hopefully we'll have a bigger lead.
Yeah. Well, same time next week, Jack, hopefully?
Yep. See how everything plays out, Robert. Sounds good.
Okay. To all listeners, we'll catch you next week.
proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.